A 45-page federal indictment accuses Mayor LaToya Cantrell and her former security officer Jeffrey Vappy of using his city job and her authority to bill taxpayers for his salary while on trips disguised as official work.
Mayor LaToya Cantrell of New Orleans has become the first mayor in the history of the city of New Orleans to be indicted on corruption charges while currently serving in office. According to these indictments, Mayor LaToya Cantrell essentially was having an illicit extramarital affair with somebody who was listed as a bodyguard and thus being paid by the taxpayers. And essentially what she was doing is something that we see, weirdly enough, a lot with black female representatives like Tiffany A. Henyard, with Fonnie Willis, and so on, which was go on a bunch of different lavish trips, disguise said lavish trips as some kind of work event, something having to do with serving the city of New Orleans, when in reality, in actuality, it appears that they were just bilking the taxpayer to the tune of $70,000 so that they could travel the world on these 14 various trips. Now, these indictments are very thick. They're 45 pages long. They detail not only the crimes that are being alleged in terms of the taxpayer misappropriation in order to do these trips, but in addition to that, they also detail a campaign to destroy evidence, subvert a grand jury, and it seems like, based on what the feds have put together, Miss Cantrell is dead to rights, caught, done, cooked. It's over for her, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
The reason why we have evidence is because it is supported by reality.
Prosecutors say Vappy faked timesheets and activity logs to get paid for work he didn't do, as the documents allege the mayor helped him.
So it's important for you guys to understand out there in the audience that Mayor LaToya Cantrell and, of course, this security guard were both married at the time that this affair was going on. Now, I know in our modern society, extramarital affairs don't have the punch that they used to, but just so you guys understand that in the middle of all of this, what the mayor was doing was covering up these trips with this individual who she wasn't even married to at the time. So the taxpayers were essentially paying for both of these people's impropriety. Now, according to the feds, there were about 14 different trips that they went on. Now, these were clearly and obviously vacations. These were clearly and obviously two luxury resorts. However, listed in the paperwork, listed in the documentation, was Mayor Cantrell saying that she's going on official New Orleans business, but at the same time, she needed her bodyguard with her. So not only did they defraud the taxpayers in terms of the meaning of these particular trips, but in addition to that, the bodyguard was actually billing the city of New Orleans for all this time that he was supposedly working.
This wasn't just a situation of Officer Vappy and the mayor holding hands in the back of a car on the way to an event. This is, in fact, them manufacturing trips.
Prosecutors laid out 14 trips with more than a $70,000 price tag and personal time with the mayor at a city-owned apartment.
When in reality, what he was doing was, what you tend to do when you're having an extramarital affair in a wonderful luxury vacation suite with somebody behind closed doors. I don't want to get into that very much because, there are youths watching this show and they don't understand the extramarital machinations of this affair. But again, what I find incredibly interesting about this is that this is extraordinarily similar to what we saw going down when Fonnie Willis ended up hiring Nathan Wade to be the special prosecutor on those particular Trump cases. In addition to that, Tiffany A. Henyard is also accused, and many people in the Thornton Township scandals, of bringing their partners, bringing their lovers, bringing their boyfriends or whoever on taxpayer-funded trips. So for whatever reason, even though this is not the typical, usual, normal type of corruption, we've seen for black women in particular, again, Cori Bush, that this seems to be a common thing. Get your lover paid, get your man paid while they're supposedly protecting you, when in reality, the only thing they're doing is demolishing that
According to Raphael Goeneche with the Metropolitan Crime Commission, because of those charges, Cantrell's future travel, personal or professional, may need approval.
Even if she doesn't have her passport taken away from her, For her to leave the jurisdiction, she's going to need the permission of the court.
Now, for whatever reason, the local news media decided to include this in here that, oh, she's probably going to have her passport taken away from her, and even if she doesn't, she's going to need the permission of the court to go on these lavish trips, when honestly, that is the least of the issues in my opinion, because it turns out that Cantrell is not only accused, like I said in the open, of doing all these different various things, but apparently there's about 15,000 encrypted WhatsApp messages that she exchanged with this man during the course of this illicit affair that was being paid for by the taxpayers, that they were also very dodgy in turning over. Apparently they deleted certain messages, they lied to investigators, and all of this has been uncovered by the Fed, which, if true, Miss LaToya Cantrell is basically dead to rights. Now, of course, I want to make something 100% clear to everybody out there in the audience. This is all alleged as of right now. Now, the Feds are very much in the camp of, we have this woman dead to rights. The evidence is absolutely overwhelming. But as of right now, as of this very moment, these are just allegations, or as the super mayor would call them, allegations.
False allegations and not facts.
So therefore, they should be taken as such, because innocent until proven guilty is the legal standard in the United States of America, even though almost all of this seems to ring unbelievably true. Again, you have visits at a taxpayer-funded apartment that the Feds appear to know about that are supposed to be used for official business, when in reality, the only thing official that was going down there was the mayor going down on.
The indictment also alleges Cantrell withheld information and lied to investigators and the public, adding she tried to sway witness testimony and hide evidence, including not handing over key records like WhatsApp messages.
There was just so many allegations of what she did to try to hide what she was doing.
So oftentimes what we see is that the cover-up ends up impacting you worse than the crime. Obviously, this is extraordinarily true in the Richard Nixon case, but in this particular case right here, it also proves to be true, because Cantrell probably would have had to resign in disgrace had she come forward, told them about the lavish travel and whatnot, but likely she wouldn't have served a significant amount of time in prison. However, they're also accusing her of witness intimidation, of trying to destroy evidence, of lying to the Feds, and all these different other various things that very likely will prove to be the death of her in terms of her trial, because the Feds seem to have documentation over all of this.
The indictment alleges Cantrell and Vappy took 14 different trips together to places such as San Francisco, New York, Martha's Vineyard, and Los Angeles, costing city taxpayers more than $70,000 just for Vappy's travel expenses, separate from Mayor Cantrell's own travel cost. According to the indictment, around October 2021, Vappy went to Scotland with Cantrell and later sent her a WhatsApp message, which is a free encrypted phone messaging app. Vappy's message allegedly said the Scotland trip was, quote, where it all started. The indictment also points to another message Cantrell sent Vappy: the times when we are truly alone traveling is what spoils me the most. The Feds alleged beginning in October 2021, while carrying on a personal relationship, Cantrell and Vappy attempted to disguise it by making Vappy's interactions with the mayor appear to relate to his official duties. The indictment says Mayor Cantrell canceled a fall work trip to Miami in 2022 and instead booked a personal trip to Martha's Vineyard to spend time with Vappy while he attended a conference as a representative for the Housing Authority of New Orleans, HANO, a position Cantrell appointed him to serve.
So, fun fact about this particular indictment, this Vappy individual was actually the initial person that the Feds ended up indicting at one point in time, and during the course of said indictment, hilariously enough, the Feds did the thing where they don't name the other parties involved. However, they give a descriptor, and if you're a keen-eyed observer, or if you're just somebody with a baseline of intelligence, you were able to crack the code that the mayor of New Orleans was the person who was under investigation, because in reality, they didn't name the mayor, they didn't say LaToya Cantrell, but in the original indictment of this other individual, this Vappy individual, they said the mayor of New Orleans.
Federal documents show these charges were all connected to a romantic relationship between Cantrell and Vappy. In one piece of evidence, Cantrell sent Vappy a picture of her hand with a ring, saying, "Did you tell blank you put a ring on it?" Prosecutors say those messages raised red flags, and when questioned, Cantrell reportedly lied to a grand jury.
You really don't say anything unless you can back it up pretty definitively.
Now, of course, right there, you see obviously that they have the image of her saying, "Did you tell whatever woman?" I'm assuming that that is that person's wife, that you put a ring on it. And then she ultimately ended up lying about what this meant, when in reality, there's only one real interpretation of what this could possibly mean. And again, notice the size of the ring, notice how obscenely large it is in this particular photo, and realize that the way that this was paid for was likely due to the tax dollars of the residents of the city of New Orleans. And by the way, all of this is going on while New Orleans is suffering a crazy budget deficit. They can't afford to field the number of officers necessary to bring down crime in the city of New Orleans, which is something that we covered multiple different times. Meanwhile, this kind of defund the police Democratic politician is hanging out with her own private police and having privately a very good time with them, to the point where he's putting a ring on it. And again, I will just say, for whatever reason, this specific type of corruption seems to be incredibly common among female Democratic politicians, and on top of that, it seems to be even more common with black female Democratic politicians, and I genuinely want an explanation for that, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's like the Ghana travel thing. Again, a lot of black Democratic politicians are traveling to Ghana, spending lavish amounts of money on their travels to Ghana, and nobody seems to have an explanation as to why they seem to always be misappropriating taxpayer funds for trips specifically to Ghana. Again, this happened with the mayor of South Fulton and Mayor Karen Bass and multiple different other mayors, and it just seems to be very unusual, but very common, very much a pattern among Democratic politicians.
The indictment includes WhatsApp messages from the trip to Martha's Vineyard. Vappy messages, "Hey baby, I'm going to go to lunch with the guys and come be with you at the end of today's conference." Later, Cantrell, "So that is about 3:30, you will be done?" Vappy, "Meaning we get out earlier." Cantrell, "Let me know about where for lunch to make sure I'm out of sight." The feds also say they have messages between Vappy and Cantrell planning a trip to a conference in California. Cantrell wrote to Vappy, "SF is April 6th through 8th. It officially ends at 4 p.m. on the 8th. Do we return on the 8th and stay at apartment, or return on the 9th? Later, Vappy replied, "We stay and do the Napa Valley like you said." Cantrell, "Perfect. Thumbs up emoji." Fox 8 obtained travel records from that California trip and found Cantrell, Vappy, and the mayor's digital director all stayed in California through April 9th. Records show the entire trip cost taxpayers nearly $10,000.
Now look, like I said earlier on in the course of this particular video, it seems like the feds have a pretty solid case. Again, when the feds drop an indictment, the likelihood of conviction is something like 97%. And again, it appears that they not only have evidence of the illicit affair and the misappropriation of taxpayer funds in order to cover said illicit affair, they not only have a previous indictment against this Vappy individual, but now they have this particular indictment, and likely we are to see a superseding indictment, but they also appear to have evidence of a cover-up. But of course, I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. Do you think the mayor did absolutely nothing wrong? Do you think that evil white racism is behind these indictments, and people just want to stop a black woman from living her lives on the taxpayer dimes due to the fact that they have evil white racism in their heart? Now again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about madness in the city of New Orleans. Till next time.